everyone together a little louder. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare time again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare with your heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, verses 50 to 51. At the end, climax. And it's the juicy part, the juicy of the juiciest. So without further delay, we'll start the class with Mother Gita. Hare Krishna, Mother, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
And it's all yours, Mother.
Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhams Parivrajapacharya Stotra Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anant Koti Vaishnavrind Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद जाद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय समेत भक्तवृंद की जय निताई गौ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. Glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Verse 50. Draupadi cha tadagnaya patinam anapekshatam vasudeve bhagavati yekantamatirapatam. Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, cha and tada at that time, Agnaya, knowing Lord Krishna fully well, Patinam of the husbands, Anapekshatam, who did not care for her, Vasudeve, unto Lord Vasudeva or Krishna, Bhagavati, the personality of Godhead, he exactly, Eka Anta, absolutely, Matihi, concentration, Apa, got, Tam, him, the Lord. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Draupadi also saw that her husbands, without caring for her, were leaving home. She knew well about Lord Vasudeva Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Both she and Subhadra became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and attained the same results as their husbands. Purport. When flying an airplane, one cannot take care of other planes. Everyone has to take care of his own plane, and if there is any danger, no other plane can help another in that condition. Similarly, at the end of life, when one has to go back home, back to Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. The help is, however, offered on the ground before flying in space. Similarly, the spiritual master, the father, the mother, the relatives, the husband, and others can all render help during one's lifetime. But while crossing the sea, one has to take care of himself and utilize the instructions formally received. Draupadi had 5 husbands, and no one asked Draupadi to come. Draupadi had to take care of herself without waiting for her great husbands. And because she was already trained, she at once took to concentration upon the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The wives also got the same result as their husbands in the same manner, that is to say, without changing their bodies they reached the destination of Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that both Draupadi and Subhadra, although her name is not mentioned herein, got the same result. None of them had to quit the body. Text 51. Yashadha yaitad bhagavat priyanam pando sutanamiti samprayanam shnoti alam swastyayanam pavitram labdhva harau bhaktim upaiti siddhim. Yaha, anyone who shraddhaya with devotion, etad, this, bhagavat priyanam, of those who are very dear to the personality of Godhead. Panduho, of Pandu, Sutanam, of the sons, iti, thus, samprayanam, departure for the ultimate goal, shrinoti, hears, alam, only, swastyayanam, good fortune, pavitram, perfectly pure, labdhva, by obtaining, harau, unto the Supreme Lord, bhaktim, devotional service, upaiti, gains, siddhim, perfection. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The subject of the departure of the sons of Pandu for the ultimate goal of life, back to Godhead, is fully auspicious and is perfectly pure. Therefore, anyone who hears this narration with devotional faith certainly gains the devotional service of the Lord, the highest perfection of life. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration about the personality of Godhead and the devotees of the Lord, like the Pandavas. The narration of the personality of Godhead and his devotees is absolute in itself. And thus, to hear it with a devotional attitude is to associate with the Lord and constant companions of the Lord. By the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead without failure. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we have come to the end of the chapter, and there's so much to learn. And if you remember, last time I was giving the class, ultimate goal of life was mentioned 4 times in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. And here also we see in verse 51, again, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the ultimate goal of life, which is to go back to Godhead. So from these 2 verses, we see that Draupadi, she saw that her husbands left her and they went towards the Himalayas, not caring for her. So there are 2 ways we can look at it. For a mundane person will think, oh, what useless husbands, they just left the wife and went away. This is ridiculous. This is how they would think. But if you see spiritually, we can see that Draupadi was trained and the Pandavas were also trained. They both had knowledge. So here we see, if we see spiritually, we see that the Pandavas, they were so detached. They did not think, oh, what will happen to wife or family or whatever. No, they just wanted to proceed towards their ultimate goal in life. So that is detachment. And they knew that Draupadi can take care of herself because they had already trained her. She was in knowledge and she, was performing devotional service, and they knew that she can liberate herself. It was okay for them to leave her behind and go to the Himalayas. So from this, we can understand 3 things are very, very important. Firstly, actually 4 things. Firstly, knowledge. Second is training. Third is guidance. And fourth is to set a good example. And that's what the Pandavas did. And so we can see that Draupadi was following the role model that was her husband's. And besides this, Draupadi knew Krishna was safe. He was her friend. She knew him. She had so much association with him. She got so much knowledge from him. Actually, Krishna even blessed her. And we know the past time where she was disrobed and Krishna came to her help, when she cried with full surrender, not until she was holding on, till she gave up, trying to save her, self-respect. Krishna came only when she fully surrendered to him. So she got the help from Krishna, her friend. So from this also we can understand that Draupadi was fully surrendered to Krishna. It's only when we will fully surrender to Krishna that he will be able to help us. I had read one very nice story of given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. There's a beautiful book of his stories, and in that he says that there was this man who was holding on to a pillar and was crying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. So there was someone passing by and, offered to give him some food to eat. So he wouldn't take that food. So the man said, why aren't you taking? He said, but I'm holding on to the pillar. How can I take the food? You see, but he did not realize what is important. If he's hungry, then he needs to let go of the pillar and take the food that is being offered to him. This is what happens generally in this material world. We get so attached to Maya that when opportunity comes for devotional service, we don't want to let go of Maya. We want both. We want Maya also, and we want to perform devotional service also. No, Srila Prabhupada has taught us. He has given us this very nice process. And guess what? Just like Draupadi was praying to Krishna for help, what is the Mahamantra? It's a prayer to the Lord to please help us so that we can engage in your devotional service. So chanting of this holy name attentively helps us to develop that desire, the desire to serve. Generally, we serve when we are asked to serve. Like, for instance, in the temple, very rarely we will see devotees who will take the initiative of going and doing some service. Mostly it is, oh, Prabhu, can you do this? Mataji, can you do this? And then, we say, oh, yeah, sure, we can do. So that desire to do service will develop when we chant attentively. So here from these two verses, we see that Draupadi and Subhadra, both of them, both the wives, what did they do? They both were trained, well trained, and they were surrendered to Krishna. So what they did, they absorbed themselves in thoughts of Krishna. Now there are two things, thinking of Krishna and being absorbed in his thoughts, two different things completely. Thinking of Krishna is, oh yes, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he lives in Goloka, Vrindavan, etc., etc. But being absorbed in thoughts of Krishna means that no matter what we are doing, whatever activity we are performing, in the back of our mind, we are absorbed in thinking about Krishna and his pastimes. So Draupadi and Subhadra, they also wanted to reach the ultimate goal of life, which is to go back to Godhead like their husbands. So they also absorbed themselves in the thoughts of Krishna. And what was the result? We read in the verses and the purport that they attained the same result as their husbands. Same. And what was that? To go back to Godhead in their present body. They did not have to leave their body, take on a spiritual body, and go back to Godhead. No, they went in their same body that they were in, just like the Pandavas had done. So what was the reason they were able to achieve that ultimate goal of life? The reason was their complete absorption in Krishna. So now, $1 million question: how to absorb ourselves in Krishna? Because that seems to be a very far-fetched goal. How to do that? Very simple. Just follow the process given by Srila Prabhupada. Chant attentively, preferably in the morning, in the Brahma Muhurta time. Read Srila Prabhupada's books. Follow 4 regulative principles very strictly. Don't feel that, sometimes it's okay, to eat out. Sometimes it's no. Follow the 4 regulative principles very strictly. Perform some practical service. Preach. Follow instructions of the spiritual man. This whole process is given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And how can I forget? Eat prasadam. We all like to eat, but we should eat only Krishna prasadam. Now, when I was reading these 2 purports, Srila Prabhupada mentions that we have to fly our own plane alone. No one can fly it for us, which means, and he also says, on the ground, before we take off, yes, we can take help from others. It could be whoever, devotee, spiritual master, family, relatives, whoever it may be, we can take help from them. But once we are flying the plane, Srila Prabhupada says you have to fly solo. You can't fly in a group. Or if, say, I am flying my plane and if there is problem with my plane, no other plane can help. No other plane. So what does this actually mean? It means that we are responsible for our own lives. No one else's. Based on the degree of surrender we have towards Krishna, based on that we will get the result. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyam. So as we surrender, Krishna is going to reciprocate. So if we want to be sure that we want to reach that ultimate goal of life, which is to go back to Godhead, to Krishna Loka, then we need to have the knowledge, the training, the guidance, and then we can fly our plane solo, which means then at the time of death, we can remember Krishna and go back to Godhead. Because at the last moment, at the time of death, no one can help us. Yes, if there are devotees around, they will chant in our ears, and that will force us to remember Krishna if we have forgotten him, But that also arrangement is done by Krishna based on our efforts during the life. Now, 2 days ago, I came to know that my immediate neighbor, she passed away, a very sweet lady, 70 years old, I think, very, very sweet lady and very helpful. We hardly met, but then I came to know a few days before she passed away that she was on her deathbed and she may leave her body anytime. So I wanted to go help her. I knew that, she is not interested in Krishna consciousness, neither is her family, etc. But when I went to the door, there was a big notice there, no visitors. So I couldn't help her. And then 2 days ago, I came to know that she passed away. Of course, I attended her funeral, but it was too late. Had there been an opportunity to help her at the last moment, she could have saved herself. But then, that's what it is. So we don't know if we will have help at the time of death. So we need to prepare throughout our lifetime, throughout. And when we, continue taking on knowledge and guidance and training ourselves and following role models, and then eventually becoming a role model ourselves, then there is a possibility we may pass the final examination. See, Srila Prabhupada, he has given us everything that we need, right? He has given us temples, devotees, advanced devotees, his books, festivals, everything he's given us to advance spiritually. So if we really take this up seriously, then we will get Krishna's mercy. But constant reminders are necessary. Why did Srila Prabhupada say we should hear Bhagavatam class in the morning and Bhagavad Gita in the evening? So that we are reminded again and again that we need to associate with devotees, because devotees remind us of Krishna, right? When devotees meet, it's not for gossiping or talking about material things, or what is the situation of the stocks and what about this one. And no, it is so that when we associate, we inquire about spiritual life, we inquire about the challenges that we may have in our spiritual lives, because association is very, very important. Someone was telling me that there is a 20% rise in teenage deaths, 20% rise since pandemic. Why? Because of isolation, no social life, no association. And during that pandemic, they felt distressed, anxiety, depression, etc. And then I also heard that 1 out of 25 5-year-olds, just 5-year-olds, kids, 1 out of 25 will not reach their 40th birthday. Oh, Krishna, see, Kali Yuga. We are so fortunate. We have this golden opportunity. We have Krishna consciousness. We have devotees to associate with. We have the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we are very, very fortunate. We should not let go of these golden opportunities. So we see from these verses that the Pandavas, they did not ask Draupadi to come with them. And she took care of herself. She didn't wait for them, oh, maybe they'll come back and then, we'll stay happily ever after. No, she took care of herself. She didn't wait for them. Why? How did she do that? Because she knew that they had gone for a special purpose. They had gone towards their ultimate goal, and she needs to follow in their footsteps. And that's what she did. And so she absorbed herself in thoughts of Krishna. She started concentrating her mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Now, it's not something that happens just like that. It needs a lot of practice for one to concentrate their mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, especially when we go to the temple and we, have darshan of the deities. We start having darshan from the lotus feet, and then we go up towards the face. Concentrating on the lotus feet of Krishna for a long period of time requires training, requires practice. So here we see that even though the Pandavas, they went towards the Himalayas, Draupadi and Subhadra, they didn't go to the Himalayas. They remained at their own home. And still they got the same benefit like the Pandavas. They didn't have to, renounce everything and go to the Himalayas. No, they went back to Godhead just like their husbands in that same body. No change, no need to quit their present body. So this shows location is not important. You see, many times we have heard that it is very auspicious to leave your body in a holy place like Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, right? But if it is not practical to do that, why not make our own home a holy place? And then if we leave the body in that home, which is a holy place, we get the same result. So from Draupadi and Subhadra, we can understand location is not important, but consciousness is. Sincerity, seriousness in Krishna consciousness is important. Then we see in verse number 51, Prabhupada again talks about the ultimate goal of life, and that's what the Pandavas achieved. That is, Srila Prabhupada says, that is fully auspicious and perfectly pure. So anyone who hears about the Pandavas, Draupadi and Subhadra, anyone who hears with devotional faith gains devotional service to Krishna just by hearing. And that is the highest perfection of life. So we have heard from Prahlad Maharaj. He says, Shravanam Kirtanam. He doesn't say Kirtanam Shravanam. Shravanam means hearing. First we hear. When we hear with full faith, with devotion, not that, oh, someone has told me if you do this, then this is, this is going to be the result. Okay, I have faith in that, so I'm going to follow that. No, with devotion. So he's talking about devotional faith. Then one can achieve the highest perfection of life just by hearing. Why Srimad Bhagavatam? Srila Prabhupada says, because it's about Krishna. It's about the devotees of Krishna, and both are absolute. There's no difference. And when we hear about pastimes of Krishna or pastimes of his devotees, then that can help us advance spiritually. And when we hear about Krishna and his devotees in association of devotees, then it's more powerful. Many times Srila Prabhupada says, if you love me, you love my dog, right? So same as with Krishna. If you love me, love my devotees. Why is it that Lord Shiva tells Parvati that the topmost worship is that of Vishnu? But he says better than that is worship of devotees of Vishnu. Because it's the devotees who can help us go back to Krishna. So if we love Krishna, we must love his devotees. Why? Because devotees are very dear to Krishna. When we please the devotees, Krishna is automatically pleased. You see, automatically pleased. So just like Lord Shiva says, worship of Vishnu is topmost, but above that is rendering service to Vaishnavas. It is better. We cannot approach Krishna directly. That's why we go through our spiritual master. When we offer our aratis, bhoga, whatever, it all goes through the spiritual master. We cannot approach Krishna directly. We need the mercy of Krishna's devotees. So it's very, very important that we fully respect the devotees, we serve the devotees, we associate with them, we hear from them, and we even confide in them if we have any challenges so that we can get some help. Then one may say, okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, we should hear because it's about Krishna and his devotees. Why do we hear Bhagavad Gita? Because it is related to Krishna. It is related to Krishna's devotee, Arjuna. Pandavas were very, very dear to Krishna. And right now we are hearing about the Pandavas, devotees who are very dear to Krishna. So when we do that, then it also helps us to, increase our knowledge. When we associate with devotees, we learn how to preach to others also, how to save them. Supposing that we are drowning in the ocean, and here comes a boat, and here comes a captain who gives his hand and pulls us and puts us on the boat, and we are saved. Then it is our duty to save the others who are drowning in this ocean of Maya, pick them up and put them in the boat of Krishna consciousness. But of course, to save them, first we need to be saved ourselves. So to preach, first we need to practice before we preach. Because when we tell others, please chant attentively, then before we do that, let us meditate on our own chanting. Is it attentive? If it is, yes, please go ahead and preach. But we should even preach otherwise. Because preaching is going to be pleasing to Krishna, then Krishna will bestow his mercy upon us to help us advance spiritually. Just chanting, Srila Prabhupada says, if we can just chant properly, everything else will fall in place. Why? Because there's no difference between Krishna and his holy name. Krishna is present in his holy name. There is no difference at all. Because when we chant, we are associating with Krishna at the same time. And then that chanting can help us to attain the highest perfection, which is going back to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada says there is no doubt about it. He says, without fail, even Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, without fail, do not fear, without fail. It's a guaranteed process. So we see here that Draupadi had 5 husbands. And Prabhupada says, I was reading the transcription of his lecture, most of his points are from his lecture. He was saying Draupadi had 5 husbands. We should not imitate that, which means we should not go ahead and have 5 husbands. It's impossible to handle one. Where's the question of 5 husbands, or for one man to have 5 wives? It's not possible. It was possible for her, for Draupadi, but not for just an ordinary woman. So when the Pandavas retired, they did not care about Draupadi. And because at retirement, there is no more responsibility. There's complete dependence on Krishna. That is Vanaprasthashram. Not that I am retiring, so and so, please send me some money. No dependence on others, only depending upon Krishna. Of course, we also have to use our common sense that when we are retiring, have we made the provision to take care of ourselves? Unless, of course, we are taking sannyas, which means we are giving up everything, complete detachment, and then going to different places and, being maintained by others. What is the responsibility or duty of a sannyasi? To preach. And then the grihasthas take care of the sannyasis. But that is a very high level of surrender. See, for us, just to retire also, we do need to make arrangements, that, okay, when I retired, like my husband first, he retired, then I retired, we made sure that there would be no need to work again. It is not an instant decision. I'm going to retire tomorrow. No, it doesn't work that way. There's some planning required. Yes. So when we also retired, we made sure that our son's business was well settled, and he, happily wanted to support us. So we said, okay, there is no need to work. He's going to take care of us. You see, there was financial stability. So we retired. So we do have to use common sense and make sure that we have the provisions before we retire. But here we are seeing that Pandavas, being fully Krishna conscious, fully trained, in full knowledge, fully dependent on Krishna, they retired and they left for the Himalayas, you see. So when that situation arises, when we are so surrendered to Krishna, then we've heard in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Yogkshemam pahamiyaham, that he will give us whatever is necessary. That is his promise. Give us what we lack, right? Provide us with what we don't have. And that is what happened with the Pandavas. Pandavas, you see, if you remember that when Draupadi was being disrobed, they did not protect her. They had lost her in gambling. They did not. And Prabhupada says gambling is so dangerous. That's why it's one of the regulative principles that we should follow, no gambling. And they bet their own wife. They lost the game, they lost the wife, they lost the kingdom. They were banished for 12 years and 1 year of staying incognito. And if they were, recognized, then another 12 years they had to, they were banished into the forest. You see? And then, of course, the war was declared and, they killed all the Kauravas. So you see, when Pandavas retired timely, Draupadi understood. She said, my husbands, they have retired, so they are no more duty bound. No more duty bound to give me protection. There was no such obligation. How could she think that way? Because she had knowledge. She was a friend of Lord Krishna. Imagine being a friend of Krishna. You see, we in this material world, we do have certain duties towards our families. Yes, it's nice to take care of them materially, but what about their spiritual lives? Just giving them material education is not sufficient. We need to make sure they get spiritual education also. The whole family should be Krishna conscious. It is our duty as parents. If we have, brought children into this world, then it is our duty to liberate them. Make them all Krishna conscious. We see in verse number 50, it says, Ekanta Matirap, which means simply concentrating mind on Krishna. Simply, nothing else. And what is the benefit of that absorption? Getting shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And when we get shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, our human life becomes perfect. And we can reach our ultimate goal of life, which is back to Godhead. But for that, we need two things. We need knowledge, jnana, and vairagya, detachment also. You see, there is suffering. People in this world are suffering because of attachment. They don't have proper knowledge, no proper guidance, no proper training. There's complete attachment to the body, attachment to the family members and relatives and friends. And why do they love their family, friends, and everybody? Because they think they are the body. They are in love with the body. What about the soul? The soul is there. That's why they are able to love the body. When the soul leaves the body, are they going to love that dead body? No. Why do they love? Because soul is there and soul is part of Krishna. And because soul is part of Krishna, Krishna is the object of love. So we also get attracted and become, we fall in love with the body of our, close ones like spouse, children, or whoever it may be. Krishna is the object of love. I remember hearing somewhere or reading somewhere, I'm not sure, where this gentleman in India was so attached to his wife that even after she passed away, he kept her body in the house. I don't know for how long or what. There was a picture also. He's sitting next to his dead body. He's sitting next to her. That is extreme attachment. Ridiculous. But we fail to understand that we love that body because the soul is in that body and that soul is part of Krishna. So we see here that the Pandavas, very well trained, they knew the ultimate goal of life. They knew Krishna is everything, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So Mahatma Sudurlabha, very rare to find such Mahatmas, great souls. But these Pandavas were Mahatmas, great souls. So they retired timely, very, very important. Not when I feel like, not when according to me, or I think so, or in my opinion. No, retiring timely. So Prabhupada says there are three subject matters. First is to know Krishna and our relationship with him. Second is the ultimate goal of life. Third is how to attain that ultimate goal. And Prabhupada says that is Vedic knowledge. And he also says that faith and conviction both are required in this Krishna consciousness. If I become a devotee of Krishna, fully surrendered, there will be all perfection. And this is called faith, not flickering today, yes, tomorrow, no. So we have this golden opportunity of Krishna consciousness. We should take it up seriously, not wavering, you know. Wavering faith is something that, can change any time. Just like I said today, I feel like, tomorrow I don't feel like. No. And towards the end of this chapter, we see that Pandavas, who were very, very, very dear to Krishna, they retired timely. Spiritual master is also very, very, very dear to Krishna. So if only we can hold on to the lotus feet of our spiritual master. Holding on to the lotus feet doesn't mean physically catch hold of his feet and just not let him go anywhere. No, that means following his instructions to the best of our ability. Make best use of this golden opportunity of Krishna consciousness. You see, it is said, if health is lost, it can be regained. If money is lost, we can earn it back. But if time is lost, we cannot get it back at all. So whatever time we have left on this planet, we can take up Krishna consciousness seriously and attain the ultimate goal of life. I'll read the last verse of this chapter. The subject of the departure of the sons of Pandu for the ultimate goal of life, back to Godhead, is fully auspicious and perfectly pure. Therefore, anyone who hears this narration with devotional faith certainly gains devotional service of the Lord, the highest perfection of life. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother Gita, for such a wonderful class and actually closing out this chapter, the Pandavas retired timely, which was the climax, the best of the climax. And thank you for enlightening us with so much words of wisdom. Would like to ask devotees, if you have any questions, any doubts or clarification, please do raise your hand and I will call upon you so that I don't miss anybody. We have a good participant list today, 14, just getting better and better. So that's really, really encouraging and very supportive. So thank you so much. Mother, I have a question. Actually, let me have Prakshit go because he has his thing up. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to you, the Father. I don't have a question, but listening to the lecture, this as a whole, extremely, extremely encouraging and very convincing about how seriously we have to take the process. And it was also very sweet. It was almost like a pastime put in it, how the Pandavas retired. And the point that you made that make your home spiritual enough that not everybody would get to go to the wonderful spiritual places in India to retire, not only to retire, but to leave their bodies. But if you take the process seriously and spiritualize your own home, then it is possible to live with the same type of benefit that you could get if you left in the wonderful places, holy spiritual places in India. So that was a good point that I wanted to make sure I hear and also share with others so they would know. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
That was a very nice point because I know so many devotees who have left their bodies in America and they were so exalted and my gosh, devoted, and I mean the list goes on, and we know that they've gotten their ticket back to Godhead directly because they were just so exalted. So, like you said, Mother, it's what we make of our location, and not what we are looking for. Thinking, and I think, Mother, what's coming to my mind also is that. And it's just coming right now is sometimes we have this mentality, if I go and leave my body, this holy thumbs, I'll go back to Godhead. But it also depends on location and also our consciousness. we cannot say, oh, I'll leave my body to Mayapur, I'll go back to Vrindavan, to Goloka Vrindavan, because that's an easy ticket. But it depends on our consciousness. We cannot take those holy places for granted also. So I really like the point that you said, that we make our homes where we are at, based on our bodies. Sometimes the bodies, it will not be able to travel out of the country. So we have to make our environment and also work on our consciousness to make it, suitable for us to make it back to Godhead. So that was my realization, how important it is to fix up our environment and our consciousness, external and internal, Mother. So thank you so much for bringing the point up. Really, really powerful.
There were some devotees who went to Vrindavan to leave their body, but it so happened that they were in New Delhi when they left the body.
There you go, Mother.
Arrangement of Krishna.
Yep. Because that's the Lord knows what he's doing. He's fully in charge. He's fully in charge. Absolutely, Mother. Thank you. Any other questions from devotees? Mother, I have a question, and this is from verse 50, where and this is a very interesting point, and that you mentioned how Draupadi and Subhadra, they were so trained that they didn't follow the husbands. But what's catching my attention, Mother, is where Srila Prabhupada says, and because she was already trained. And I come across situations, sometimes the women are so dependent on their husbands that they just cannot move left or right, So as women, Mother, learning, I can't say we can copycat, definitely not, but learning from Mother Draupadi and Subhadra Maya, how can we as women become confident enough to be trained and accept that training, Yeah.
Yes. You see, it's like a catch-22, you can call it. Unfortunately, some wives, they have that, you can say, based on whatever knowledge they had, before they came to Krishna consciousness, whatever situation, family life or whatever, their way of thinking is that, okay, I am a wife, I'm a woman, so I am, I have to follow my husband 100%. It doesn't matter whether he's right or wrong or whatever. So that training that they have received, like for instance, before I got married, I was very, very young when I got married. So the only thing my father told me is that, in those days, decades ago, fathers didn't really speak much, So all he told me is, your mother-in-law is more than your mother, and she's always right. And your husband is always right, and you have to do everything to serve them. And that's all he told me. And I took that very seriously. And fortunately, my husband is a gem, he didn't take advantage of that, she is serving me, so let me make her serve me more and more, and, kind of push her down so I can go up. No, that did not happen. But had I had another husband who, was like very proud of that, designation, the head of the family, like in India, it's called head of the family, even on the ration card, they put head of the family is the husband, so I am the controller. I have the power. No. First of all, Srila Prabhupada says, we all are spirit souls. We are not on the bodily concept of life. I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm man, I'm woman. No, that's the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita, right? That's the foundation of our spiritual lives. And Srila Prabhupada also says that when this marriage ceremony takes place, it's called Vivaha Yagna. It's a sacrifice where husband and wife, they take a vow to help each other advance spiritually, which means they are both on the same level. But it is the nature of the woman, to serve, to cook, and all that is nice. But one also has to realize that they both have to help each other. That means they both have equal responsibility of advancing spiritually. You see, so to come out of that shell, for a wife, thinking that, okay, I'm not trying to say that, what is that word where women are, I can't remember that word.
Women liberate women?
Yes,
Yeah.
where women feel that, oh, we are greater than men, we can do everything that they can do. No, not that consciousness at all. There has to be humility in both, you see. And if the wife is following the husband, the wife has to make sure husband also is Krishna conscious, is also following, right? Is a good role model, not a controller. I have the power and put you down, whatever. So for that woman to come out of that state of consciousness, then she needs to take a role model, try to associate with an advanced wife, who is in Krishna consciousness and, can help her, guide her. So in that also training is necessary. So it's not very easy, but it's not impossible. It is possible, but good association. So then from that association, she can get knowledge, she can get training, she can get guidance, you see. And at the same time, if she's being suppressed in the house because of, scriptures saying that husband is, the guru of the wife, which is really good, but then, she can come out of it. We are all spirit souls. The moment we start thinking that I am this and I'm better and all, then we automatically go on the bodily concept of life. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, Mother, it does, completely does. And I think what you just said, supporting each other, we are spirit souls, we are not dependent on each other. In fact, as you're speaking about that, it was reminding me that even though we are married husband and wife, we are spirit souls, we are the servants of the Lord, devotees of the Lord, and we don't have the same karma. Just because we are married doesn't mean that we have the same karma, Therefore, even more reason that we help each other to grow spiritually. And then what you were sharing, Mother, also made me realize that with that support system, the loving support, helping each other to grow spiritually, actually helps the women to become more trained and stronger.
Stronger is the right word. Stronger is the right word. It's because of, meekness or, weakness or, not enough respect for oneself, less self-respect, all these things that, bring about that state of consciousness. Even though, we've been married for 46 years now, very close to Golden Jubilee. Even today, my husband will never say, get me water. Never. He'll say, if it's possible, can you please get me a glass of water? What a beautiful way to treat the wife, right? Not that she is a servant, go get me a glass of water kind of thing. Oh, if you're not feeling well, it's okay. You don't have to cook. Not that, no, I want masala dosa right now. Right?
It's the respect
for
Mother.
each other. Yes. Respect for each other. And
It's
treat each other like a devotee. Because Prabhupada says there is Krishna in the heart of the wife. There's Krishna in the heart of the husband, right? So offer respect to the Supreme Lord in the heart, if not to that person.
I think, Mother, the point that you also made that's also making me realize is that we have to change the command into a question rather than get me something. More like, can you get me something? It's changing the command and the order to
into a request.
A request. Yes. Just adding the word in front. Can you, will you, are you able to?
That's not sufficient. Can you please?
Please. That's true. That's true.
If you are able to. If you are able to.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true, Mother. Then I think that really helps to check our minds,
Mhm.
that who we're talking to and really respecting it. That's a very nice point, Mother. Thank you. And that
It makes
and
us also humble, that,
yes.
okay, we are recognizing that here is another spirit soul. There's Krishna in her heart or his heart,
Mm.
and treating them accordingly.
Nice. Yeah. Very, very nice point, Mother. And I think these are sometimes we think that such actions or comments or etiquette weakens or makes someone meek, but actually it makes someone
No,
stronger.
no. In fact, the other person starts respecting you more,
Mhm.
right? Because you are showing respect to someone else. So then they also, in turn, reciprocate with more respect.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good point, Mother. Thank you so much. Really good points. I was holding Leela Krishna Prabhu so long. Please go ahead, Prabhu, with your question. I feel bad. Please forgive me, Prabhu.
Uh, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
no, actually, I was about to drop. I have another call. So
Oh,
my quick one comments and thoughts. Comment is, as you mentioned, right? The people trying to go to Vrindavan to leave the body, but they left in Delhi itself. So again, with that, we said that this is the arrangement of Krishna, right? So we were trying something which is not happening because Krishna has different plan. Similarly, in my office, I know like 10 or 15 years back, one Mataji wants to deliver. She know that she's the girl, and she already went to astrologer the Friday, this time and that time, I think between 9 and 10, giving the birth to the girl, it will be so auspicious, right? She tried her best, but she born on Thursday. And she was like, okay, no, no, no. I met her after 6 months. She said, no, no, she's awesome. I said, she has to be awesome. So the point here is we have so many incidents. We try our best to happening in this way, but Krishna is different. Taking that as an example, and now going back to Mahabharata, Draupadi having the 4 husbands, is that her will or is the Krishna's will?
5 husbands.
5 husbands, right? The 5 husbands is Krishna's will or her will?
So she of course is not an ordinary woman.
Soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not ordinary woman, a very great personality, and she had desired 5 qualities in one husband, which was
Yeah.
not possible to get,
Correct.
in one. So
Right.
then she got 5.
5
Yes.
husbands.
Mhm.
And again, where I'm reading that, if you narrate entire Mahabharata, right, it's look like Draupadi is the one core reason, right, which is driving to the Kurukshetra. That's where if you look at the analogy, right, so pumped up, all the 5 husband has to be like, no, I want to fight now. And overall, I know that Krishna wants that fight.
Yes, it was his will.
Right. So again, the Krishna's will. So having the desire to the Draupadi, 5 different quality of the husband, having the 5 husband, and having that the dressing, cheer her and whatever that thing happening. Everything is Krishna's reason, right? So we think that everything is happening because of this or that reason, that the person want to leave the body or person coming into this planet is all Krishna's will. Mother tried and she took the appointment with the doctor and everything. But the Thursday she was in office and she was so happy that, oh, this, and afternoon something happened. She has to call 911 and give the delivery to the baby. So our plan is different. It happens in my front of her. She is now, I think, 13, 14-year-old, her daughter, but she's healthy, perfectly fine. But mother thinking that Friday morning, the girl, I don't know what is that reason is, but that's the thing is, again, our consciousness is everything is happening as per the Krishna's plan.
Yeah, so
That's my comment.
it's our karma, also based on our karma. Krishna provides. His sanction is necessary, but then we are the ones who are facing reactions to our actions, you see.
Makes sense.
So
That's it. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, I will drop. Thank you, Mataji.
Oh, thank you so much, Prabhu. I'm sorry again, Prabhu. Thank you.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions from devotees before we end the class? It's such a nice class, amazing, a question and answer, and loving, very, very sweet discussion and sharing and exchanges, because we have reached the climax of the 15th chapter. And tomorrow we start the 16th chapter, which is Maharaj Parikshit receiving the age of Kali. That's going to be an interesting. Yes, Srinivas Prabhu, please go ahead, Prabhu, with your
Hare
question.
Krishna, Mataji, Dandot Pranams.
Okay.
Mataji, after you mentioned about the three subject matters, and you briefly touched upon the faith and commitment. And upon faith, you mentioned that faith in Krishna. And you also mentioned about the commitment on our sadhana, or can you explain a little bit?
Yes, so Srila Prabhupada explains that first we start off basically with the faith that yes, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then we need to make that faith firm, and that faith will become firm only when we have commitment, which means we are very serious in this process. We are very serious on this path. And we sincerely try to progress spiritually, not that we stay on a plateau. So that commitment will help us to make our faith more firm. So that commitment becomes possible only when we have association of devotees. So we, again, the same points, we need the knowledge, we need the guidance, we need the training, and then this commitment, which we are planning on making, if we have not yet made a commitment, if we are planning on making, then when we associate with devotees, it becomes easy to make that commitment. Usually people run away from commitment because it becomes like, like a burden that, oh, I've committed, just like a boy commits to a girl, okay, we'll get married. Then afterwards thinks, oh, it's a burden for me, I have committed, now I have to keep my commitment, so then there is all this going on in his head or in her head. So in Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada talks about having faith, making it firm by committing. Commitment helps us to advance spiritually. Does that help you?
Oh, very helpful. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Sure.
That was a very nice question, Srinivas Prabhu. Thank you, because I know and I'm sure many of us benefited from that keyword commitment that helps us to build faith. Yes, thank you so much. Mother, says you were speaking, I think what's coming to your mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mother Gita, is like when we have faith that we will do really well in a test, then we have to make the commitment to make sure that the faith comes true. Is that the similar thing, Mother?
Yes, because if we are not committed to, passing our exam, then we are not going to pass the exam. Because if we are committed, then we will work towards it. We'll do whatever it takes, to keep our commitment, right? Like we make commitments, to our spiritual master or to some devotees or authorities or boss or whatever, then we work towards it. You see, commitment is the first step. But if we don't commit, then we are randomly living.
Yeah. Thank you, Mother. That was a very good point. Faith and commitment, it definitely goes hand in hand. Thank you so much. And thank you for asking that question, Srinivas Prabhu. It was very, very helpful. Any other questions from devotees or thoughts, clarification that's coming into your mind before we end the class? This has been such a nice discussion. If there isn't, we thank you all for joining us, and thank you for sharing your questions and your realizations and sharing your exchanges with us, because I'm sure we all benefited from it. And we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow online when we start the new chapter, 16th chapter. Until then, Vanchakaptivyascha, Kripasindobevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Have a wonderful day, devotees.